that all kind of came crumbling down when the things that maybe I had been managing for some period of time really were no longer being managed well, or the reality of them not being managed well had caught up with me. So
Mhm.
I realized that being in a group of other strong friends meant that I might not be getting the feedback that I need, and or the accountability
Mhm.
that might be needed.
Welcome to the show, Nikita.
Thank you, Belinda. I'm happy to be back.
I'm excited to have you. After the first episode, people loved you. They were wanting you back, so we had to bring you back.
Thank you so much. I'll take that as a compliment. I have heard that I'm unique a few
Mm.
times in my life, so I'm standing and I'm owning that uniqueness.
Okay, so we're talking today, fam, about being the strong friend, the one that everyone leans on, the one that everyone comes to for advice or direction, the mama of the group, if you will. But being a strong friend can take a toll, right? Can come at a cost. So, Nakia, tell us, what did being a strong friend look like for you?
Really, Belinda, I have found myself in a group of strong friends. I
Mm,
am not the odd person out in my friend group. We all are pretty strong, I would say, in my circle, which could pose a different type of threat.
mm,
I have found myself sometimes feeling as if I'm in an echo chamber of strength, and um, that can have multiple consequences. I think as a result, and the first thing I guess it looked like for me was not realizing that I had been categorized or could be categorized as a strong friend. So I did not make the connection between some of those traits with it was just how you were.
mhm,
So I did not often get feedback that, this is a characteristic of it. This is just how you ought to be.
mm,
And that all kind of came crumbling down when the things that maybe I had been managing for some period of time really were no longer being managed well, or the reality of them not being managed well had caught up with me. So
mhm,
I realized that being in a group of other strong friends meant that I might not be getting the feedback that I need, and or the accountability
mhm,
that might be needed in that time. Also might look like encouragement of unhealthy habits and behaviors and rituals being reinforced because that was also the standard practice for other people in my group. So
mhm,
I think that when I started exhibiting signs of burnout
mhm,
and realizing that this, what, what I'm upholding was in fact leading the charge of my demise, is when I realized that there was a significant cost at maintaining the definition of strong friend that I had, and that was being reflected back to me by the people around me.
That's so interesting. I have been in situations where, yeah, I think there's a couple other strong friends around me, but in several situations, I've been the strong friend, if that makes sense. One of the things that you mentioned was some of the behaviors that were normalized. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that looks like? And I guess that kind of feeds into maybe your description of a strong friend.
When I hear strong friend, I think about the perception that you're the friend that often is doing the checking and not being checked on, or
Mhm,
doing the doing and not being done for,
mhm,
or not speaking up, or making I need, or statements, or thinking that anything that you might ask could be a burden on another friend. I was in a group of a bunch of people like that. So imagine we're all just, buzzing around each other looking to be helpful to one another, but never asking for what we need. and not being, brave or courageous enough to say in a moment, um, I need to just be vulnerable and raw, and I need someone to help me sort through some of the thoughts that I'm having, as
Mhm,
I'm in prayer or before I go into prayer,
mhm,
for me. Being in that kind of an environment can serve you in a lot of ways when you are in survival mode, which we talked about last time.
mhm,
If that is only ever your goal, just to
mhm,
survive,
mhm,
then being surrounded by a bunch of like-minded, strong friends would probably serve you,
mhm,
and it
mhm,
did. I think we all started, um, tapping out on our strong person, let alone friend journey, and we all started seeing that we were being confronted with the thing or the experience or
yeah,
the life event that truly revealed to us we'd never been as in control as we thought. We were
mhm,
far more vulnerable than we were willing to confess,
mhm,
and needed to speak up differently if,
mhm,
at all, for ourselves, and ask in return for the things that we were constantly extending to others,
mhm,
and open up trust to be able to do that, so that you could truly be, refilled in times of need. I realized it came at a cost was that when I was truly in a place where I needed someone to stand in the gap for me, and I didn't feel like I knew how to ask for that help, even though I was surrounded by fully capable people
mhm,
to be able, to make that request. And so that was a moment where I said, "This doesn't even, make sense. Why
mhm.
would you have all these people around, your writers, your day ones, all these, adages that we like to use when we're referring to our friends, and then when you need one, you're unwilling to reach out to them." I said, "I think that says more about my status, my mental status than it does, you know, the group surrounding me." I didn't know how to ask for strong friends to step in so that I could stop being strong.
Hmm. Wow,
Mm.
wow.
So I
Yeah,
had to learn how to do that. Yeah.
yeah, you raised so many great points, and, one of the things I was thinking about as you were talking is how it could be exacerbated when you are both a strong friend and a leader. And a leader in the sense of your day to day, right? A lot of the people that listen to the podcast are in leadership positions, whether it's their 9 to 5 or as a founder, CEO of a company. But just not turning that leader hat off, right? And like the idea that you always have to have an answer or always
Mm,
have to know where the team, the group, things are going. And so I just see so many parallels between like a strong friend and the
mm,
expectations of a leader. And if you are both a leader in your 9 to 5 and a strong friend outside of your 9 to 5, how
mm,
that could just really exacerbate, anything mentally or emotionally, right? Because
mm,
like there's not an off time. It's not like I'm a strong friend, but when I go to work, I can sit back a little bit, if that makes sense. It's
mhm.
like you're just constantly running.
Constantly. Mm.
So I'm just curious, are there any of the individuals that you're mentioning, are any of them in leadership roles at work or whatever they're doing?
They are exercising leadership skills in every area of their life. And I think what I love about the diversity between my friends that are also in leadership, positions, we're all at different places in our careers,
Mhm,
but we're also in different places in our personal lives as parents, which
mhm,
adds so
mhm,
much richness because you get the insertion. You can always tell the ones who have older kids. They just seem to have gotten the pause before responding down like nobody's business, and I'm convinced that's just one of those skills you just only get over time. Like, you just don't that's just one of that's the one muscle that just has to be practiced because that pause, critical,
Mhm.
before the response, and, with a 4 and 5-year-old, I'm being stretched in that pause, but that is a transferable skill, and I'm telling you, it's made me a better leader every day. Let your parenting guide your ability to be an effective leader and vice versa.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I find that I find so yes, to answer your question, what I love about my friend circle is that everyone are every one of my friends are bosses in so many different areas of their lives, and they've been bossing in those areas for different, different capacities for different amounts of time. And it's the richness of all those experiences that come together that they generally, I mean, there's a perfect response to anything that I'm dealing with at work as a result of all of the richness and life experiences from those that I have access to on a daily basis that are my confidants and give me, are a sounding board as I'm making decisions for work. But I'm telling you, when you said that you don't get to you're right. You don't get to take off the hat between, and sometimes they're colliding into one another at the same time. I mean, um, last week I was under the weather and I literally lost my voice,
Mhm.
which there's some people who would hear that about me and be like, thank God, and then there's others who are looking to you to guide and, we just happen to be in a very active season right now. And it's requiring a lot more customer service approach in my leadership, and I'm pulling on a lot of
Yeah.
those skills right now, which requires a lot of
Mhm.
talking, a lot of questions,
Mhm.
a lot of
Mhm.
understanding, and, if there's one thing, if you've ever lost your voice, the last thing you wanna be doing is using any, energy that could be contributing to your, healing,
Mhm.
and also
Mhm.
recognizing that if you've only got about 5 good words left in you, you wanna choose those words very carefully. And so it just seems like there's been a parallel between my work and a theme, this theme with my 5-year-old that, you know, we've been missing each other in communication, and it's been requiring a whole lot of extra words. But at the same time, and it's not like it's requiring all these extra words from another Nikita. It's requiring all the extra words all at the same time from the same Nikita. Where am I getting
Mhm.
all these words from? And then I have the audacity to not be able to speak. Um, but I learned a valuable lesson in that moment. And what it really helped me understand is the pause. It it seemed like the more space, the more air that I gave, the more succinct my thoughts, were,
Mhm.
and I seemed to be more clear, and I spent fewer words. I was more succinct just by giving that pause, and that is something that I recognized recently was a significant struggle in my parenting, and I
Mhm.
was able to pull that out in that moment and just say, "You know what? If you're struggling with it here, you might be struggling with it here too," because it's not like I'm
Mhm.
not. I have a different brain for parenting, but I realized I'm like, let that breathe a second. Ask if we can, have a one item agenda on this at a different time. Lately, I've been adding meetings to my schedule, and I feel like I'm moving backwards. But the season requires a lot more communication, but effective
Mhm.
communication. That's what I've
Mhm.
been. That's where I've really had to dig into the bag, and
Mhm.
we had a full on like brick wall dead stop in communication misunderstanding recently, and it got exhausting, and I finally had to just be vulnerable and say, "It's 6 p.m. your time in the time zone that you're in. I don't think that we're gonna make any more progress on this today. I think that we should pick it up tomorrow. You and I, let's have just, a quick check-in after you mull it over overnight." Um, someone maybe listening to this and say, "Well, I don't see why that's so profound." For someone who, um, has struggled with people pleasing and sending people away without a solution and feeling like the leader that always has to have the answer straight away,
Mhm.
right away, and be able to write off valiantly, every discussion has to end on a high note. That's just not reality. It's not reality, and there are times where I'm just in a gridlock in my brain. I'm like, "I don't know, and I don't have any more information to provide you right now." And being okay with that and, you know, owning the follow-up, which it can also be hard when you're adding something else for you to do. But
Mhm.
the perception of strong is not is not the picture that I want out there in front of me anymore. I don't wanna
Mm.
be perceived as strong anymore. I don't want anybody to think that about me. I want the strength that I draw from to be the culmination of how I show up over time, which means
Mhm.
that in this moment, I may be choosing this, but it's not defining my effectiveness as a leader.
You just said something so profound. My first reaction when you were saying that you don't want to be perceived as strong, I was like, okay, we're redefining our brand. We're thinking about how we want people to think about us when they hear our names. But then as you're talking, um, I started to think about the strength that it does take to move against the grain. And that's one thing that I do know about you is that you've always been someone to move against the grain. And I love that about you, but it always takes a lot of energy because you're moving against norms. Because
Mm,
the thought that we have to have answers to questions,
mm,
whether you're in a leadership role or you are that strong friend, maybe you're the eldest sibling and everyone comes to you, or, like that person that's supposed to have the answers. That comes from societal expectations and norms that we have put on our own shoulders. But you're redefining what that leadership looks like, what that friendship relationship looks like, right? And so in that, it can be tough. It can, and you can start to second guess yourself because of norms. But what you're doing is actually something so strong. Um, but it's hard. It's hard when you're the first or you're, the outlier, if you so to
mm,
speak, right?
mm,
When you're
mm,
the one trying to shift things, perceptions and norms about what a leader is or what a good friend is, maybe even what a mother looks like. And so, I just wanna applaud you. It's hard. It's tough work. It's very tough work, but I just wanted to applaud you in that. I want to, like, unpack what you were talking about.
yeah, and I appreciate that additional perspective too. I perceive it as a strength of mine to be able to come to the table and look at a picture and see what I can add to it. You know what I mean? That
Mhm,
isn't already existing. And so that most certainly can be something that is against the grain or not moving with the herd, if you will.
mhm, mhm,
And I've learned to trust that what I perceive, what I am contributing to a conversation is coming from a unique perspective. One should have the belief that they are so unique, whatever perspective they bring. You and I, we could read a script verbatim, say the same things and still be saying something different. The timbre
mhm,
of my voice is unique. It's like a fingerprint. So if you
mhm,
know that about yourself, you should know that anything that you're bringing to a space is going to be unique. And I just accept that about myself, which I think allows me to walk a little bit more freely. And so I am very comfortable being the one, you know what I mean, to be on the down if everyone's on the up.
mhm,
I'm okay with that. I think where I have to be intentional is in knowing that perceived strengths don't have to be an identifier. Think that being labeled strong has had adverse consequences attached to it as a Black woman. So I have an adverse reaction to it, and I don't want to be labeled strong,
Mhm,
although I am a complex being with many strengths.
mhm, mhm,
I think that that is an important enough point to
mhm,
distinguish, and I do think that that some of the negative undertones that come with being labeled a strong friend
mhm,
are what I wanna shed about that as an identifier. I feel limited in that because of the way that society views strong Black women in general.
mhm, mhm. How they've
Mm.
used the
How they've
phrase
used the
strong.
phrase, how the phrase has been used, right, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, I think I think there's, again, similarities there. It's just so interesting how strength is coming out in different ways, whether as a friend, a leader, a strong Black woman. Um, and and I think just there's similarities and differences across all of them, but just the expectation that someone is almost, I would say, superhuman, but like
Mhm,
they
mhm,
don't have needs. They don't
mhm,
have
mhm,
like, there shouldn't be additional considerations, but then my mind goes to
mm,
individuals who are in all of those roles. Because what was I
mhm,
just talking about
mhm,
earlier? I was talking about a strong Black woman, or I was talking about,
mm,
like, strength of a friend, being a strong friend,
mhm, mhm,
and, who's also a leader, and now you've added
right.
on additional
And so
there, and so,
and
like, that's
and I went there because it's the beliefs about this being all that you know, if there was a long list of other things that I could be,
Mhm,
or
mm,
that I heard other women that look like me that went before me having in terms of attributes,
mhm,
generally the list, like everything underneath that just was in, fine script.
mhm,
That was what's emboldened.
mm,
And um that categorization and objectification became larger than Nikita, or I think it
mhm,
it can
mhm.
become larger than the person. And
Yeah.
so that had to be something that I unlearned or relearned or understood differently
Mm,
so
mhm,
that I wasn't, walking into the room saying I'm the strongest person. I'm the strongest friend in my circle. This is my duty. I am
mhm,
obligated to show up and this is how
mhm,
I'm going to lead everything. And
mhm,
that is not how I show up as a leader every single day.
mhm,
Some days I show up as a leader and I need my team to hold me up
mhm,
because
mhm,
I'm crumbling under the weight. And that's real. I believe that
mhm,
has to, what leader, give me one leader who hasn't had a really, really challenging day or a
mhm,
day where they need to recognize that they are not fit in the moment, to make a decision. How, a supportive environment is required in order to be able to exercise and to operate from that place
mhm,
of leadership, to be able to
mhm,
say, today I literally don't have a voice, or today I have a voice, but, you know, it's stifled because of something else.
mhm,
Um, I think our one-on-one would probably go better over Teams chat. Like,
mhm,
I'm not gonna be on camera today.
mhm,
Ooh, I need
mhm,
to eat this snack while I'm talking to you because I gotta pick up my kids, but we really need to talk right now. Like, I'm just saying, like, not every environment will allow you to be real like that. I get it.
mhm,
And I know that, culture, environments matter. But when you talk about me being the gristle against the grain, those are
mhm,
usually the moments where I choose to exercise being different and going a little bit fringe
mhm,
to make the environment bend to my needs.
mhm, Mhm.
so that I can show up and make level-headed decisions as a leader
Yeah.
and make decisions that I can go to sleep about and stay asleep about at night,
Mhm. Mhm.
that I can wake up and defend fiercely the next morning.
Mhm.
Sometimes it requires me to be able to be vulnerable in some other areas. So I feel like when I'm wearing this banner of strong friend or strong leader,
Mhm.
it limits and it minimizes all of the things that I am just because of, I think, just the societal perception about that.
Yeah. One of the things I love that you brought up is just the practicality of, and the examples you're giving was like with regards to a team, but the practicality of your day, which I think a lot of those um, aspects can be transferable to friendships or, whatever, different types of relationships, right? And, that's some of the things that you mentioned are things I actually do with my team or my department. And it is that a lot of the times we have cameras off. And I might just like text because I have their numbers or like Teams chat and be
Mhm.
like, this is a camera off meeting for me today. Like, and we just know if it's a Monday morning meeting, we don't have to say anything like the camera is off,
Mhm.
right? Um, and I have been fortunate to be in an organization where I'm allowed to drive the norms in my department and team.
Mhm.
Um, and with that, have made mental health a priority. And but I
Mhm.
think part of that um, is coming from, and we talked about this last time, but my past experiences, like with mental health and mental health issues, and then that being a guide for me and wanting to make sure that my team is okay, that those in my department are okay. Um, and so I openly
Mhm.
talk with them. I
Mhm.
check in on all the time. And so with that, I could just stop. I could just like check in on them and, you know, lead and not be vulnerable back, which I have done at times. I'll be honest with you. I'm
Mhm.
not saying that like every time I need to be
Yeah.
vulnerable, I went to my team.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but there are times where I've been like, I can't attend to that right now. And there have been times that my team has checked me, and
Mhm.
I'm grateful for that. That's because I think the environment that I've allowed to cultivate, but they've checked me and be like, "You're too available right now." And I remember
Mhm.
the first time someone said that, I was like, "What do you mean I'm
Mhm.
too available?"
Mhm.
And I had to really I was
It's
grateful
good
that they
feedback.
said it,
Mhm.
but I
Mhm.
had to really process why I was giving that much, and that was really helpful in something again you mentioned earlier, but my journey with um, being less of a people pleaser and not identifying as that, just wanting to make sure the team was
Mhm.
functioning and going and not like micromanaging, but like
Mhm.
being available if they needed me so that we could kind of keep going. And that's how I looked at it, as opposed to like, no, you actually are like wanting people to
Mhm.
be
Mhm.
pleased with
Mhm.
the fact that you're available. Um, and
Mhm.
instead. And so it can be the
Oh,
same all
yeah.
different motivations. And so,
Oh,
but
man.
all that, whether it's leadership with its relationships, you can be too available in relationships.
It's
Too available.
I'm telling you, the unlock in this season, Belinda, has been finding the transferable skills lessons across all of it.
That makes
In
sense.
any role that you're in, find the common thread and let it bless you all the way through your life. From your marriage to your job to your parenting to wherever you are. Just find a way for it to lay over. Because to me, that's where you're really getting that's where you're getting your bang for your buck.
Hmm. Hmm.
You better apply that thing over the multitude
Hmm.
of things. And
So,
that's where I I'm saying that jokingly, but that is where when I'm intentionally doing that, that is
hmm.
where I am getting the most breakthrough,
Hmm.
in areas where I'm having there's a lot of resistance, whether it's trying
Hmm.
to get buy-in from a colleague to do something, whatever, trying to get my 5-year-old to eat
Hmm.
their spinach. It's all the same thing. You're just trying to convince people to do the things you want them to do. And no matter where you are in your life, if you're interacting with people, if you got to win in one area, you need to try to figure out how you can apply that win to it.
Mhm,
Just walking around trying to. Have you ever seen one of those posts where they say describe, what you do in so many words?
mhm.
I always think it's funny, and I've often tried to. I've never. No one's ever asked me. Maybe someone will ask me as a result of the podcast. But what do you do in the layman's terms?
Mhm,
Try to convince people to do things. That's it. That's literally just trying to convince people to do things that we want them to do.
mhm,
The nudging, I mean, like,
mhm,
ethically, there's a
mhm,
line there somewhere for everyone, but it's the basis of what it. So how can you relate to that person's reality? Where's your communication? And I realized that being labeled the label that I got and what I had been told I was and what
mhm,
I think I needed to be based on what I saw demonstrated for me and leadership other women in leadership, particularly women that look like me in leadership,
mhm,
you just push through. You just keep going. You never
mhm,
say no. You always show up. You never turn off
mhm,
the lights. You always pick up the phone.
mhm,
You work 2 times as hard just that we know
mhm,
that it's been drilled into our heads. And I am refuting that. That is what it takes in order to be effective and
mhm,
happy and
mhm,
healthy and whole
mhm,
and joy filled. Those are things that I am entitled to. Those are things I
mhm,
deserve. I believe that about myself now.
mhm,
That took some
mhm,
convincing. And it
mhm,
took me refuting that you can only get these things by doing X,
mhm, mhm,
never resting, never
mhm,
taking a break, never
mhm,
admitting or saying that you're tired, never saying that you don't understand for fear of someone thinking in the room that you, or not saying the most, just all of the garbage, just garbage and noise, garbage and noise. When I really finally accepted that, I was just like, oh, I even told my husband, I said, yeah, I'm not strong. Don't call me that. I have a lot of strengths.
mhm,
I also have a lot of other things like that just is not the whole of who you are.
mhm,
And I think that one has to take careful account into how they have internalized what being a strong person, friend,
mhm.
leader, what that means. And if you happen to get any breakthrough in one area of those, consider how it could be applied to other areas. And, let that be an efficiency, that you lean into because it has been life giving for me in the season to strip myself of those expectations, what I thought I needed to be in order to be effective,
Mm.
learn myself, and then find the tools that best suit me.
It's so funny. I feel like I've been having a lot of conversations lately, and a common thread, um, in conversations with like other leaders or those in entrepreneurship or wanting to do entrepreneurship, and a common thread has been um, either healing from trauma,
Mhm,
finding your
mhm,
voice,
mhm,
learning to trust yourself, learning to, it might be like forgive others, but it's been
mhm,
a lot of soul work.
mhm,
And I don't know that that's really been talked a lot about. I feel like I've been on a journey with it, but not realizing that other people are also have been on this journey and making those connections. But I want to scream this from the rooftops. I'm hoping that
mhm,
those listening, if they haven't started their journey, that they will.
mhm,
But also, share with others because truly, if we don't do our own internal work, we are not, and I don't want to
mhm,
use the word effective. That was like a natural thing to just kind of pull out, like expected language to use.
mhm,
Like we're not effective
mhm,
as like a leader, but
mhm,
what I mean by that is we're not able to have those joyful interactions that you were just describing.
Mm,
You can be
mm,
mechanical,
mm.
or you can have a joyful experience. You can thrive in it, you can enjoy what you're doing, and taking that deeper introspection, doing the work, to deal with past trauma and wounds and hurts makes a
Well, and
difference you experience, yeah.
I like to think about it as, I'm not a photographer, so I shouldn't go there
Mhm.
because I'm gonna go there. I think about it as the layers of a photograph and when they are, curing, I don't know if that's the right word, but when they're being developed or when an
Mm,
image is being developed, there are layers of ink that are placed, you know what I mean, on that to
mhm,
create.
mhm,
And then, of course, all the other technical things and type of lenses you use that create filters that you might use. The reason why it's important to do what you just described is because you can move through life, experiencing it however, whatever way that you are. And if you have not journeyed down that path of discovery and understanding yourself, sure, you'll continue to move through life and you'll have the experiences you're going to have, but the vividness of the
mhm,
image
mhm,
will not be there.
mhm,
The exponential layering and depth that stands to be experienced is hindered if you don't have the right equipment to to
mhm,
develop it. If you don't have the tools to develop it, and that's in a
mhm,
specific way. And so it's not that you won't, shoot, you might have an average life. I mean, however you define that. But for me, I
mhm,
want the richness. I
mhm,
want the fullness of an
mhm,
experience, and I can't get that if I haven't addressed the things that are pulling me away from that. If I'm trying to
mhm,
go up and I have things that are holding me down, it's simple math. I think it's simple enough to say that I've gotta release those things that are anchoring me to past identities that I no longer associate with, or things that no longer serve me. If I don't really disconnect from those, better yet, if I don't know that they exist, maybe trying to
mhm,
walk forward and have no reason why you have no understanding as to why my foot isn't moving. You have to be aware. You have to identify it. You have to do something about it. And if you do something about it and you get that release, then everything that's in front of you can be experienced. I don't want to
mhm,
miss out. This is the ultimate FOMO, okay?
mhm,
Ultimate fear of missing out of something is the reason why I have decided to do my work because I want the fullness of the life that I have been promised and that I know is out there for me. I've gotten a taste of it. I've seen it.
mhm,
Um, when I hear about people speak about joy joy that's unspeakable, and I realize and recognize and accept that those layers really do peel back when you begin to examine and look and confront things that you've accepted and that you believe about yourself. And some of them you say, yeah, you're right. I need to amplify that. That's really good. I really believe this about myself and it's true.
mhm,
Let me think about that more. Let me say that more.
mhm.
Mm, And then, of course, on the contrary, the things that have come back, something came back up. Mm, I've been doing a lot of soul work.
Me too.
And honestly, if there's anything that'll make you do it, it's your children. These kids got me looking at myself much, much, much more deeply than I could have ever, and it's serving me very well in the season. But, there's anything you wanna know the truth? Ask a 4-year-old. Mhm. Ask a 4-year-old, and, they've been showing me themselves. because they're still mirroring what they are seeing, you know, and I'm giving them a whole lot of things that I'm just like, "Ooh, I don't think I really want them out there in the world doing that." And then I say to myself, "Self, but you're doing it." I'm just like, you're
Mhm,
right." So,
mhm,
you know, when you get those opportunities to really take a peek behind, you should, and you know when those moments come up, you know, it's that still small voice, or it's the thing that you that's been nagging you, or it's the one thing that keeps coming up every time you try to push through a layer
mhm,
professionally when you're trying to achieve a goal and you find out that this common thing keeps popping up that you haven't
mhm,
addressed. And then when
mhm,
you go and you start realizing like, "Oh, this has dulled my image. This is preventing, you know, the most vivid picture from coming out of this development."
mhm,
And, you know, you just gotta answer the question, do you want a better picture or not? Like, that's
mhm,
totally up to you. But if you
mhm,
do, this is how you can begin to do it. You gotta start talking to yourself. You gotta ask yourself the hard questions, and,
mhm,
you know, back to the strong friend, that's the image of strength that I want to show up for my friends. I wanna be able to have the clarity of my own mind.
mhm,
Uh, one, to be able to say, "Thank you, friend, for praying for me about that thing that you prayed for me about."
mhm,
And to be able to come back and say, "I made some progress, but not a lot of progress, but I gotta be honest about what I've done." You know what I mean? And I want you to
mhm,
know so that you can hold me accountable. And then also, and I think of all the things, exhibiting strength as a friend should look like this: friend, sis, honey child. My mom and her friend used to say, "Honey child, we gotta talk about this.
mhm,
I don't think this is. I'm concerned. I think that you deserve better. I
mhm,
think you have better in you. I want better
mhm,
for you." You know what I mean? Like that's the strength in my friendships that I want to be pushed up to the surface. And the facade, you know,
mhm,
what I've been conditioned to think that was,
mhm,
we have the blueprint. I have a great an excellent blueprint of friendship. My mother demonstrated that for me in sisterhood. And those are the lessons I wanna double down on. Those are, you know, the conversations I wish I could have with my mother who is no longer living. So, you know, if
mhm,
you have, you know, someone who has demonstrated what it looks like to be, um, a loving friend, loving leader, an empathetic friend. If anyone has demonstrated that, you wanna ask them, like, you know, some of the things that we've been talking about, go and ask them. This is a good
mhm.
time to go and seek wise counsel,
Yeah,
when you're
yeah.
having these conversations with yourself. But, yeah.
Well, so one of the things that I'm so glad that you used the picture imagery. And one of the things that came up for me, Nikita, and I want to talk about this a little bit with the listeners, and we might we'll see where things go after that. But there are some people that don't they want the vividness. They want the joy. They want the opportunity to have rich relationships, but there's a fear of being vulnerable because once you deal with trauma, like you're more open, right? That's why you can experience the joyful part, right?
Mhm,
But there's a knowledge that if I actually deal with my heart, if I allow it to be more free, I can actually also experience more pain,
mhm,
more
mhm,
rejection,
mhm,
more hurt overall. And so it's better for me to be this is the thought process. It's
mhm,
better for me to have the mask, the facade of like helping other people, but not having to worry about or not having to expose myself and not having to deal with my own issues. Like I
mhm,
just help other people,
mhm,
right? And I see that often. Yes, like with strong friends, but also with leaders. Leaders who have not dealt with their own issues,
mhm,
very unhealthy, but they
mhm,
can direct, they can lead
mhm.
well. Um, so what would you say to someone that has heard you and it's like, Nikita, what you said sounds good. I want the rich pictures. I want to be able to look at it and enjoy life, but I'm also fearful because it could lead to more pain and hurt as well.
If I'm speaking to leaders, I most certainly would expect then that every leader I'm speaking to has a goal or objective that they have in front of them at any given period of time.
Mhm,
It's generally a mark of a leader. We set goals and we get after them. Um, but we all, as individuals, at some point or another, are confronted with the idea of whether or not they are on track, if
mhm,
they are advancing, moving forward, stagnant, backwards.
mhm,
Moving
mhm,
backwards. I think it's a naturally occurring thing. And, as a person who believes in cycles, I think that we are evolutionary beings,
mhm,
meaning that even in our life experiences, we are expected to produce or bring some level of growth.
mhm, mhm,
If that's true, I believe at any given time there could and should be something that you're working on to improve. I think that
mhm,
that's um, part of the essence of life. It's working towards something.
mhm,
If you're a leader, you're working towards something, and you should know that there's room or an opportunity for improvement. I think at a baseline, we would have to agree that all those things are true
mhm,
for there to be a reason for you to want to pursue a more vivid picture or experience. I think where it goes beyond that is um, my lived experience has given me a very frank picture about time and how valuable it is. The richness that I find in life is in experiences and the way that people feel
mhm,
when they interact with me. And that spark in life, the thing that we all have in common as human beings, that's the electrical force that every human being, every living thing will react and respond to. If your
mhm,
goal is to influence someone else's behavior, you
mhm,
have to be able to identify and connect to their humanity. You cannot do that with a bunch of garbage layered on top of you. You
mhm,
can't do that without clarity of mind. You can't do that without
mhm,
having a clearer sense of who you are and purpose. It's like understanding your purpose in this world.
mhm.
When you understand yourself better, you show up differently. I think
Absolutely.
that my job becomes easier the better I know Nikita. I believe that my work becomes easier and far more, the reach far more expansive and effective when that I have that rich picture in front of me, when I've got the most vivid perspective, because at that point I can truly identify and understand and dissect what I'm looking at in a way that I'm not fighting through layers and filters. And, I think about Mr. Magoo's goggles. I'm not looking through Coke bottles to try to see what I'm trying to figure out. I'm taking off the lens and I'm using the one that actually works and fits best for my vision, my
Mm,
unique eyes. And I mean, do you want a surgeon using their glasses or somebody else's glasses? You know what I mean? Operating on you. Like to me, it's just kind of common sense. You want to be
mhm,
using what's tailor fit for you. What is your unique key that's going to uniquely unlock all of you, all of your strengths so that you can give that to the person that needs it
mm,
and serve in your leadership capacity. That's who you should want showing up. That's your best version. That's how you that's your however you get to the best you, that's the you that you want to be there making the decisions. That's who the employer, that's who your Your clients, that's who they wanna pay. That's who
Mhm.
they're paying. They're paying you to bring that person to solve the challenge, to solve the issue. If you have not, if you don't have fully act if you have not fully accessed that person, then you're not giving the people what they pay for. Come on, you know?
Mhm.
You gotta give them what give them get the get you know, I'm joking now at this point, but
I just
the point is there, you know, if it's not you showing up, then why are you showing up?
Mhm.
It's gotta be you.
I love that. I think I would just add as another person. So, listeners, you're hearing two people that have at least started the journey of doing the healing work. And the reason why I say started is that at some point there's going to be something that pops up that tells us there's more work to do.
Oh, yes. I
So,
think when you
um,
start, you finally accept, like, now you anticipate it, and I think that's one of the ways that it becomes
mhm,
easier, like, the digging the
mhm,
digging doesn't change. You're just
mhm.
stronger to be able you're more equipped, as you're
Yeah,
going
the
down.
muscles,
We
muscles.
should be anticipating the evolution. It
Mhm,
should be exciting.
mhm. And I just want to speak to that person though that's you're starting to convince them, right, to do the work.
Mm, mm,
Maybe they're still a little leery. I'm happy that you brought out that the more you do it, the more you anticipate, and that's a good thing.
mm,
And I will say that's something that I've also done, am doing. Um, the more I've allowed myself to look at me
mm,
and be okay with the fact that I'm not where I want to be and start to unpack the why
mm,
behind it. The more I assess my behaviors, um, the better life has become.
mm,
The more, here's the thing I'll say, the more I've come to understand why other people behave the way they behave,
mm,
and the more I have empathy for other people who are who have not started to do the work
mm,
and may misbehave or do different things, I understand them better. And so I'm less likely to be
mhm,
triggered by them
mhm, mhm, mhm,
because I understand. It's not that I'm dismissing the behavior, right? But I have an understanding and more peace. And
yeah.
so
Oh, yeah.
I'm less
Oh, yeah.
stressed. So like life is just it's I'm better. Like I'm a better
Mhm,
version.
mhm.
I'm an iPhone 16 instead of like I'm just better, and so it has led to more
The latest
joy.
and the greatest.
And the other thing that I would say is, you know, I know for us, our relationship with God has made the world of a difference. Um, there's therapy in terms of like practicality, like how do you start
Yes.
to unpack this therapy, like as Nikia was saying earlier, wise counsel, wise friends. I'll be honest, there's been some things I've just not anticipated. Um, like a YouTube video where someone like
Mhm,
this has just been raw and
mhm,
has talked about something that an experience that I've gone through. And it's allowed me to understand myself by listening to somebody else tell their story.
mm,
And if that makes
mm.
sense. That's one of the reasons why I love having a channel like this where we can talk freely about leadership and entrepreneurship and self and relationships and boundaries and all the things that are affect our ability to fulfill our purpose and our calling.
Yes.
Uh, and so there's different mechanisms. No start is a bad start, right?
Mm.
There might be different things that you pull
Oh,
in your
that's a big
journey,
one. No
but
start is a bad start.
start.
Just
If it's
start.
a
Mm.
book that helps you, if it's keep listening to the podcast.
Yes.
That helps you,
Yeah.
and it can be a mixture of
It
things,
ca mhm,
right? And so, but just know there's joy on the other side.
mm.
there's joy. There's peace and joy. And who doesn't want more peace?
Yeah. Yeah.
For that alone, it's worth it.
Yes. For that
So,
alone.
mm, well, Nikita, we're an hour in. We can go on and on. So y'all just know whenever you see Nikita on the flyer, it's gonna be a long one, but a good one. So this is part one of a series we're gonna have to come up with. But I just want to thank my sister Nikita for being on today and just again for just pouring out wisdom. So happy to have you here. And listeners, again, feel free to tell us in the comments. You can also message us, but let us know. Let us know about your journey. Let us know what you love from today. Let us know what you still have questions about. Because we are here. We are here. We are, yes, we're happy to be doing this, but we're here for you. And so make sure that you stay tuned. We'll be back next Thursday for another episode of the Seasons in Stewardship podcast. Until then, take care.